We need to think about how best to do that, and how we might perhaps focus on a particular topic or something like that, because this is a bit of a whistle-stop tour of everything. But just so you know, this is definitely going somewhere. We're interested, we're here, we're listening to what you've got to say. So the first slide that I hope that you can all see, some of these statistics and the orange box on the side might be familiar to you. I hope they are. So things like, we know that Birmingham 2022 for the Games arriving, it's going to give us over 1,400 brand new homes being built in Perry Barr. We know that businesses across Birmingham and the West Midlands are going to benefit from £350 million worth of opportunities to bid for business and get involved. We know that there's £778 million that's being invested into Birmingham and the West Midlands to enable us to host the Games, and that wouldn't be coming if the Games weren't happening. We know that 13,000 people are going to get the opportunity to be volunteers as part of the Games. We know that there are 35,000 Games time roles and opportunities. So when we say that, we mean not only working for the organising committee or being a volunteer, but also security staff, medical staff, catering staff, people on the ground, people taking you to and from events. So there's wonderful opportunity for people to really come and be part of something in the city. We also know that during 2022 there's going to be loads going on. So we talked about Perry the Bull. Perry will obviously be on tour visiting schools. We've talked about, well, we haven't mentioned the Queen's Baton Relay, but the Queen's Baton Relay will leave London, I think, next week, and we'll go right across the Commonwealth before arriving back in Birmingham next year, and we'll be focused in and around Birmingham for 24 hours, and we'll be following that. There's a 6-month cultural festival, so we're not talking just about 2 weeks of Games time in July, August. We're talking about things happening right across the city from March until September next year. It's part of a big kind of explosion and focus on Birmingham in terms of arts and culture. Next slide, please, Simon. So what's kind of been happening? I'm hoping that some of this stuff you're going to recognise. So obviously, I hope you're aware that Alexander Stadium is being built and is rising out of the ground in Perry Barr as we speak. I hope also that you've seen and had the opportunity to participate in the Celebrating Community Small Grants Fund that we're running right across the city at ward level. So if you've got a community project, you can do something connected to the Games in your community. You'll have seen, I hope, and maybe volunteered, maybe applied to be a volunteer yourself. There are obviously is activity happening in and around the city to help us get Games ready and start to plan for all of the activity that's going to take place. And if you've maybe been into the city centre recently, perhaps you'll have seen the Be Bold, Be Birmingham city dressing that's starting to, it's all up around the council house and down the main streets, and will spread out across the city as we go forward. Those of you who've been following really closely may have noticed that the publication of a cross-partner legacy plan. So to just explain the difference between that and the conversation we're having today, the delivery of the Games is not just Birmingham City Council. Obviously, we're working with government, we're working with the organising committee, we're working with the combined authority. And as partners, there's already been a plan put out that sort of sets out everyone's ambitions, but that looks at things not only from a city scale, but also from a West Midlands scale, from a national scale, from an international scale. The conversation we're having today is just focusing on Birmingham. So the plan that we're producing is just about the impacts and what you want to see happen in Birmingham. So there is a slight difference. The two do connect, absolutely, and that's part of our job to make sure that happens. But we just want a Birmingham conversation today. And the other thing, of course, has happened is the ticket ballot has gone out. So maybe you will have already put in for tickets and are waiting to hear if you've got them. Could I have the next slide, please, Simon? So all of this is going on, but I guess a little bit, so what, you might say. I mean, we know that, not everybody thinks that this is a good idea. So there are a great number of opportunities that will come to the city as part of hosting the Games. So it's an opportunity to show that Birmingham is a really great place. We can do this. We can host a huge event that's, going to be seen across the world by, 1.5 billion people. We can, sorry, I just need to close that. There is growth and investment that's happening as a result of this. So not only the stadium, but also everything that's happening in Perry Barr and what that says and how that helps the city grow. we can demonstrate that we're a proud, green and clean host city just by actually, for once, getting the streets swept and the bins picked up. We can demonstrate that we can shine in the international spotlight. We can hopefully give people who are coming to Birmingham a really unforgettable experience, and maybe will change their perception of the city. I'm hoping that all of the work that we do with our communities means that you guys will feel inspired and involved and part of the Games. So from a legacy perspective, how do we make sure that that feeling continues after the Games? And also, how is the Games setting up to help us start to tackle some of the issues around kind of inequality? And that's not only sort of ability, disability, but also the focus that's going on around sort of racial discrimination and also around income inequality. So things like making sure that all of the tickets are not hundreds and hundreds of pounds, so everyone gets a chance to come along. Some of the projects that are being delivered are talking about, okay, so perhaps, you know, there is a less comfortable side of the Commonwealth and people's experience of the Commonwealth within the city that actually we need to talk about too. We can't pretend that the Commonwealth is an entirely positive thing. Next slide, Simon. There's also opportunities when we're talking about how we prepare the city. So world-class venues. So what will happen, you know, making sure that, you know, we're preparing Alexander Stadium brilliantly, set it up to be a fantastic venue for future events. How are we going to use that in the future? How does it become something that the community gets engaged with, as well as, you know, obviously hosting big sporting events and other major cultural events as we go forward? Our transport systems are going to be improved. So there's new stations at Perry Bar, there'll be a new station at the university. So metro routes have been accelerated, sprint bus routes have been accelerated. So all of this stuff really good, helping people move around the city more quickly. Preparing the city in terms of our engaged community. So I've talked about kind of small grants for activities like sort of celebrating communities and perhaps the Creative City Grants programme that you might have seen, but also how people have engaged with planning applications as the Games has progressed. So there have been quite a few people that have got really involved with what's happening around Alexander Stadium. Loads of people have responded to the wider Perry Bar master planning. So actually making people feel part of the city and that they have kind of an impact and an influence there. Next slide, please, Simon. And so then we come on to the kind of opportunities that are there for kind of our Games legacy. So we have had kind of over the past, since we were awarded the Games kind of in 2019, there have been a number of touch points and conversations and sounding boards taken to sort of say to people, what kinds of things do you want to see? And the answers came back, and they were things like, well, we'd like the Games to generate jobs, we'd like the Games to generate skills opportunities, we'd like, you know, young people to have access particularly to those skills opportunities. We would like the Games to be really green and help us to become a more sustainable city. We'd like the opportunity to get more physically active, to try new sports, to do different things. We'd like to be able to do more things locally around the Games. We want to put our city on the map. Those are the sorts of things that have sort of started to come back. I guess I wanted to check with you, as we've had sort of an 18-month pandemic, whether those things are still feel right and still feel quite relevant. So that is one of the questions that we'll be asking. When we've started to group all of our activity, we've then basically chunked it up into 5 themes. So thriving, so this is all about how the city grows, how we pull in more jobs, more opportunities and greater investment. Regenerating, so everything that's happening in Perry Bar around new homes and schools, all of the transport developments that are happening across the city, but also how we are doing things differently, how we're making those opportunities, those regeneration opportunities, something that we can also build in more kind of environmental processes too. So how are we thinking about maybe rewilding or biodiversity in our developments and things like that. Aspiring is another theme, so this is all about inspiring young people, how the Games can inspire people not only to get involved but to also broaden their horizons through things like the schools learning programme that will be taking place. So not only will Perry the mascot go into schools and say hi, but, you know, athletes will be going into schools to talk to students about, you know, all of their opportunities into, well, their development as athletes, but also the skills that being an athlete gives them for the rest of their lives. there'll be opportunities for kids in schools to work with other children in other schools around the Commonwealth or around the city. So thinking kind of beyond the borders of Birmingham and thinking a bit more globally. We've got a theme around healthy. So as you'd expect, it's a big sporting event. It's all about sport, physical activity and well-being. So as a city, we want citizens to feel that they've got the opportunity to be more active, more happier, that those opportunities are there in front of them. And also welcoming. So one key thing has always been that, you know, we need to change the perception of Birmingham. Birmingham is a brilliant city, but the rest of the world or the rest of the country just doesn't see it. So how best do we celebrate our culture, you know, our very actually super diverse and amazing culture, and how do we celebrate our city as well? So those are our kind of our 5 themes. Next slide, please, Simon. So I guess the questions we wanted to ask was, first of all, do these still make sense to you? Or, you know, do you think we need to focus on something else? Or does one of these things make more sense than the rest of it? We want to know how you think you or your community or the city or all 3 are going to benefit from the game. So actually, what do you think is going to be the real positive things here? And then to help us really think to the future, what are your hopes for a better Birmingham after the Games? So what are the things that you feel are the most important things that we can take away from the experience of hosting the Games and take forward into helping Birmingham become the global and amazing city that it's always intended to be? So that's all from me, Simon. Back over to you.
Thank you. So we're just about to break into the breakout rooms. As I say, we'll have about 30 minutes. I've kind of set up for the kind of needs who are in those rooms. So it will take a couple of seconds to maybe a minute for people to transfer. But just while I'm doing that, we've got the 4 rooms, and we just picked out random places. There's nothing connected to the name of the rooms, but they're kind of really important parts of Birmingham: the Botanical Gardens, Cadbury's World, the Bullring, the Custard Factory. It also just added a little element of fun in that it's not just some virtual room. You can maybe think about you being in there. Talking about the themes and answering those questions is going to be really important. And then what will happen is the guys who are leading, so you've got, as I've said, Hannah and Amanda, Alison and Tim, Rachel, Lisa, Rachel and Sharda, myself and Kat in a room. We'll collect what you say. So obviously, you know, tell us, we'll record that, and then one of the guys will feed that back afterwards. So I'm now going to attempt to move you all into rooms. So if you could just bear with me 1 second, I will make the rooms live. Bear with me. If you've not gone into a room yet, I'm just going to assign you to a room. So just bear with me. Right, just going to attempt to put people in rooms now. So. Apologies, everybody. My internet is running slightly slower today. it's wonderful. Technology is truly wonderful until the moment it decides that it's not actually going to work for you when you want it to. So, but it does show that this is real life. That we are trying our best at the moment. So bear with me. If you're just joining us, I'm just assigning people into rooms. I had set it automatically. Unfortunately, my system decided this morning that it wasn't going to do that for us. So apologies, it's just taking slightly longer than what I'd hoped. So Patrick, you've been here the longest and you're still in this room with me, so I will move you for definitely next. Right, come on. There we go. Get in there.
Maybe we should just all meet up and.
I'm going to. You're moving now. It's just that my system is running up incredibly slow, so I really do apologise. It is. Right, hopefully. You're still with me, Maria. Why have you not got a room?
Don't worry. To be honest, Simon, I'm okay not joining a room in that sometimes it stifles the conversation.
No, that's fine. So if I leave you as the kind of holding person here, brilliant, thank you. I'll go and join my room and support Kat. So it's a nightmare when these things, you plan for everything and then the last minute it goes, yeah, I'm not going to work. So
yeah,
brilliant. All right, I'll see you in a moment.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Oh, that won't let me join that room. Oh, God's sake. There we go.
Our workforce can then take advantage of those companies. Is there as well.
Just to let everybody know, we're now coming back from our breakout rooms. So the partners returning into the meeting went really well. The partners going into the meeting. So sorry to cut you so short there. And I know that, Jennifer, you wanted to ask something in our group, but maybe we can pick that up again in this session. So,
I'm just going to put everyone on mute.
I mean, we had a really great conversation and discussion in our room. So obviously anybody who wants to come back in now, you would need to unmute yourself. So I'm not going to share my screen in a minute because I think we want to just quickly go around the rooms and get the kind of feedback that we've had. And I'm going to do it in reverse order this time. So I'm going to ask Rachel, who was, I forget the name of your room, if you would like to come in and just give your feedback.
Yeah, of course. So I wonder, so apologies because did cut off Faye when we were moving rooms, but I think I got the bulk of what you were saying there at the end. I wonder if, just in terms of Kat, Hannah and others who've been chairing these rooms, if I share my screen now, then I can flick to our different boards and keep it simple. So I'll just share my screen now. Let me know when that's visible.
Yeah.
Fab, brilliant. So we were Team Custard Factory. Had a really great team, good conversations. So I guess on the first point, actually people noted that it was quite refreshing to have this conversation, and that the themes that Kat spoke to and how it was approached is quite concise. So keeping it quite simple and focusing on some core areas seems to land quite well. And having a good understanding of not just an insight into the games, but how the games can then help represent the city better and leave a lasting legacy. So I think that was positive. In terms of the next question, how do you think you and your community and city will benefit from the games? Some points around physical activity and sport. So sort of really positively encouraging younger children to play more sport. I think we know there's a sort of childhood obesity issue in Birmingham and well across the country, but is quite high in the city. And so you know, encouraging that younger generation into sport. You know, can we encourage better partnerships with local sports clubs in areas? I think that one of the key themes that came across was around community involvement and uniting people together. So Kat spoke earlier about the diversity that we have, something, you know, the games provides an opportunity to really celebrate the different cultures and diversities within the city, and I think that came across really strongly. There's a desire for the city to host more, so don't stop here but keep going and host more events. Someone mentioned, you know, why aren't we bidding for City of Culture again? And I think there's a comment about making sure that in terms of representation and activities, it's not just within the city centre, and that we do ensure that there is a good spread of activities throughout the city. I think they're the main points there. And then in terms of kind of, you know, where do we see, what's the hopes for Birmingham in the next 10, 20 years? I think, again, building on that sort of civic pride perspective, wanting to really push ourselves out there and put Birmingham on the map, make us big and bold, someone says. So the strapline's going down well. But I think, you know, we spoke about Manchester and other cities and ensuring that we can instill that pride and keep that going, and link to that. You know, after the games, make sure that people continue to visit the city, that venues continue to be well used, like the stadium. You know, that where there is investment, that it continues to be spread across the city and other areas don't suffer. That there's a good balance between what's built and where. And a really good point I'll just finish on in terms of those job opportunities and the numbers that you referenced, Kat. It's really good that the games is bringing this, but kind of what after the games, you know, making sure that the city continues to offer opportunities for people and for both personal and professional development, and keeps the city and local economy growing, and that parks and open spaces continue to be used as well. That's my wrap up, Simon.
Yeah. So is it Cadbury's World, Team Cadbury's World next, and is that Hannah? I think it was Hannah. I'm going to stop highlighting you. I think it was. Sorry.
It's Hannah. Yeah, it's Hannah and myself.
Yeah. There you go. I'm now highlighting yourself, Hannah. So you're on screen.
So I have been frantically typing into Miro as Rachel was speaking, but the group made a decision not to use Miro. So most of our notes are actually on paper. We had discussion that focused predominantly on two areas. The first of that was around the green agenda. Birmingham has the lowest recycling rate, and so the question was about what is the waste plan for the Games to ensure that that doesn't continue to become a problem or continue to be a problem for the city. Severn Trent has a food waste, Amanda might have to jump in with the proper term here, that food waste, was it?
Something to do, an anaerobic incinerator, I think, if I've got that right. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So if the food waste from the Games went there, which the NEC currently does with all of their food waste, it would start to create a good legacy for the city. It was an example that was given. And then from that, we sort of moved into talking about healthy food offerings. So, move away from burger and chips at the Games to healthier food, and actually healthier food that reflects the region's cultural diversity. So it's not just burger and chips, it's healthy food from around the world, was sort of the thing around that. We then had quite a long discussion about bad perceptions of Birmingham linked to extreme antisocial behaviour amongst predominantly younger people. So we're talking about the stabbings and that kind of thing that are in the media a lot. And what can be done in communities to overcome this and other problems. So how do you get people, maybe newer communities or people coming into communities, how do you get those to engage with the city and with their community? How do you make them feel welcome? The suggestions here were around get the basics right, and also with a real focus on engaging children and young people in school, particularly around physical activity. There's not enough of that at schools at the moment. Use the Alexander Stadium and all that that could bring, make that accessible to children and young people. Get the children in the schools in there for sports days, that kind of thing. Encourage the schools to practice different sports, encourage children to take up a hobby, looking sort of at slightly older ages, sports related apprenticeships. It's things really just to try, starting I suppose from the bottom upwards, to try and tackle the antisocial behaviour. Why are they behaving in that way? And it's giving them reasons not to, essentially. And we had a chat then about parks actually, and the role that they can play, enabling communities to reclaim their parks so that they are spaces that people are happy to visit, and also encouraging them to get outside and do some sort of activity. Somebody suggested a promote chuck your knife away scheme, and maybe use the Games as a vehicle to really promote that. And Amanda, did you have anything else there? I think captured most of it.
I think you covered most of those. I think it was around messaging as well, using the Games possibly as because simple messages from our current government seem to work really well and stick in people's heads. So the messaging is really important, and that might help to have a knock-on effect on people's perceptions to keep their communities cleaner and be friendlier with their neighbour and get involved and eat healthy food and etc. That's all.
Brilliant. Thank you, guys. Thank you. That was really great. So I'm just going to stop highlighting yourself, and then I'm going to put Rachel. Who's the next? I'm hoping that is that. Oh, hang on. So it is. So it's Alison. I'm going to highlight you, Alison. You are now Live. There you go. Hello.
Hello. I'm going to apologise. My Miro, or our team's Miro board, is not as neat as everybody else's, because we went into it and had a proper, really great sort of open communication and discussion around everything Commonwealth Games. So I was typing away frantically. So I'll have to tidy this up, but apologies now. But yeah, I mean, a lot of what we discussed was actually about putting Birmingham on the spotlight and really showcasing that we're not hiding in the shadows anymore. I think Rachel's there now tidying it up. We're not hiding in the shadows anymore. We're very much, you know, we are the city that's holding the Commonwealth Games, and we need to be shouting about ourselves and not sort of hiding away from behind London and Manchester. And one aspect that one of our participants mentioned was actually, you know, we are Birmingham, we are right at the heart of the city, and we don't shout about that enough, and actually encouraging visitors to come into the city and then using our transport to actually get out and about to the rest of the country. You know, we've got 3 train stations, I think, in the city boundary, and then we've got an airport and all sorts of really different aspects as well. And then in terms of sort of the legacy and the actual games themselves, making them really accessible. So no matter who you are, you can go to an event or you can be part of the celebrations within the city, but then also after. And, you know, can people or can grassroots organisations or individuals actually go and use the facilities? So can a gymnastics club, which was one of the examples, can they go and use the Alexander Stadium, or can we hold a swimathon at Sandwell, at the new Sandwell Aquatic Centre? So it's all really, really positive, and there's some great pieces that we can take away for the legacy, and then and communications back into the city and with our residents as well.
Brilliant. Thank you. So I'm going to unspotlight yourself, and then I'm going to bring in Kat. At the moment I was going to bring you in, Kat, you disappeared off my screen, so wait 1 second. There you are. You're now spotlighted. So feel free. Oh, you're on mute.
It had to be one of us, wasn't it? It had to be one person, so it's better that it's me. So yeah, we had a really good and varied conversation. I'd say perhaps we didn't necessarily stick to the questions, but some really valuable input around kind of what's important. And I think what I'm taking away from our discussions was sort of the greener, cleaner elements of the city, and particularly that happening during games time, but also continue to happening afterwards, and how the city council makes sure that that doesn't just focus on maybe the city centre and, you know, goes out wider. We talked about the importance of making sure that there's really good signage in and around Birmingham, and then how we use that after the games to promote kind of tourism. We talked about how the games can bring money, investment, you know, larger companies into Birmingham, and how we shouldn't lose sight of attracting those businesses, but also making sure, and how important it was to make sure that, you know, people in Birmingham can benefit from that relocation, particularly our younger people. So, you know, everyone is adequately skilled and equipped to be able to go for those jobs with these big companies when they come in. The importance of better tourism promotion for the city generally, so that thing around city reputation. We talked about the benefits of having, you know, local people working on local projects like the stadium and like the Sandwell Aquatic Centre, and we hope that would kind of continue in other projects going forward. But also that point about when the big stadium builds and the aquatic centre in Sandwell are completed, how important it is for those facilities to be accessible for everyone. So similar to the conversation that Ali's had, making sure that people in communities can use them, so they don't just become elite facilities, which is, I think, a little bit about how the stadium maybe has been seen previously. So we don't want that to happen again. Making sure that, you know, we continue to grow our employment opportunities. Also making sure that the council doesn't lose sight of some of the other main agendas that are very key during this area. So one of our colleagues in our group brought up, you know, issues around homelessness and how we address that maybe during games time, but actually how we then continue to build on that post games. And I think, oh yes, and dealing with some of our more sort of antiquated transport solutions. So where we've got old vehicles that aren't perhaps contributing towards a cleaner and greener agenda, and also maybe just not very nice things to be on. What are we doing about that, and how is that likely to affect not only visitor perception, but how do we make sure again that the city continues to benefit from access to better transport and newer transport going forward? I think that was it. Does that feel about right, Simon?
Yeah, no, I think that was it. It was a really great conversation, and really at the heart of what I'm seeing everybody is how do we put Birmingham really truly centrally on the map, and make it, have that pride that it is a second city in so many different ways. So I have got one of the chairs from one of the meetings, Sharda, with a hand up. So I will just bring you in. Hopefully it's just a bit of feedback there you're going to give Sharda, and then we're going to move on to Rachel. Sharda, you still on mute? You're there now. Go for it.
Yes. Yeah. No, it was very interesting. Our in our group, all the organization, and I think you should take all this organization on board and let them do something for you. Start working on them. And also, my issue was to involve carers, people with long-term condition, and bicycle scheme on a procession would be very, very good idea, I think. And I also mentioned to Rachel that now, now, all this sporty exercise in organization, use the park, make the park very active, like having stalls, early evenings, start doing it now rather than do it after the event is over. Make it happen. Let's start doing the celebration now, because we have to celebrate from now onwards, not after or when events are happening. We need to start celebrating it now, decorate our cities and everything. And this is where, Amanda has got a beautiful question. I don't know if it's been picked up. Amanda is asking, I would like the question about how positive legacy benefits will be measured. Such a beautiful question.
So we are going to talk about that, guys. So as the chair, I'm just going to do my first bit of demonstrative chairing ever. I am going to say, because I saw you put your hand up, Tim, as well, but actually Rachel's going to come and be talking about some of this now and messaging, etc. So I want to move it on, and then we will have chance for a quick open discussion, etc. And this is just the beginning, so don't think that this is the end of a conversation. It's the beginning. So thank you, Sharda, for bringing back. Thank you, Tim, for allowing me to cut you off in your prime. But I am going to bring Rachel in. I'm just going to reshare my screen here, and I will then also spotlight you, Rachel, and bring you in. So thank you, Rachel. If you'd like to do the...
Yeah, apologies for being spotlighted when I'm in sports gear, looking very, very casual today. So that question on evaluation of benefits and things like that, I think, Kat, if you wouldn't mind just picking up how we're evaluating legacy when we come to the discussion, I think we can sort of tie that off quite neatly for everyone. I just wanted to take a moment, and my colleague Alison might have some questions as well, but both Alison and I work specifically in communications and engagement, and our roles are all about sort of making sure that we're getting as much information out as possible to the city, communities, our elected members about the games and what's going on and how you can get involved. And we've also got a role to play, and Alison's central in this, in that civic pride piece. So rolling out Be Bold, Be Birmingham, and actually helping people feel excited in the lead up to the games and beyond. So I wanted to just take a few minutes to sort of open to the floor to sort of do a bit of a temperature check really and see how people are receiving information. Do you feel well informed about the games and the opportunities available? If what sort of channels do you like to receive your information on? What do you think we could do more? So yeah, just an open discussion and a bit of a temperature check on communications and engagement. Stephen?
Yeah, I'm just before you come in, Stephen, I will bring you in. I'm going to stop spotlighting you, and not because you're in sport, year, which I thought was very apt because we are talking about the Commonwealth
Health and
Games.
well-being.
And yes, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. What it does mean is that we have more screen for people to see each other when we converse. So if Stephen has got his camera on, we would be able to see him. But I'll bring in Stephen. Thank you.
Yeah, just to ask, do we have like a Facebook page, or is there an internet page or anything where people can go onto and look at what's happening on the build-up?
Yeah, certainly. So there is the Birmingham Organising Committee, 2022 Organising Committee has B 2022, but then also the City Council and Alison and team we've set up a dedicated website for what's going on in terms of Birmingham City, and that's B Birmingham. There we go, as if by magic. So Alison has just popped a link in the chat. So and we'll be continuously updating this over the next few months and into games time about how you can get involved, sort of key things that are happening, areas where you might be impacted. So if there's an event near you, sort of road closures and things like that, all of that information will start to come through as we progress. So yes, in short, Stephen, so please do go and have a look.
So my only problem with that is that I don't know about it already, and if I don't know about it, who else doesn't?
Yeah.
So just linked to that, Stephen, so how would you normally get your information? You know, how are you finding out things about the games and what works for you?
I suppose one of them would be the Birmingham Evening Mail.
Okay.
And then there's obviously the advertising of, as a proud Brummie, I know about the games, I know it's happening. Obviously things I see on the TV.
Yeah, so more of the sort of press side, I guess.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Stephen. That's great.
Like a Facebook page or something where that could be updated as what's going on, and the fact that there is probably maybe something like Heart FM or something like that where we could put it out and say, if you're interested in the games, this is the page you go to.
Brilliant. That's great. Thank you. One of the things that we'll do after this is obviously share any links, etc., with people, so that again, and we'll do it in a form that means that you can just forward them on and kind of send it to people. I've got Sharda's hand up, so thank you, Stephen. I'm going to pop your hand down and I'm going to bring in Sharda, and then after Sharda we've got Salma. Sharda, are you there? Okay, I'll come back to you, Sharda. Oh, are you there? No, Salma, would you like to come in? Oh, she's here. Sorry, go for it. Go for it.
Sorry, it's the computer was not opening the mute. You were asking how do we know? I think we didn't know, and this is the first time I'm hearing all this this chart you had done. And if it was not because I was chairing today, or if it was not because of this people's forum, we wouldn't know. Usually we get all the information from this forum. I think you should email everybody, especially email all the carers. When you email the carers, it goes out in the organization. It's very, very important. The community I come from is a huge community, and they're all in a lockdown even now. So no one is talking about the Commonwealth Games. So if you send us some information, we start ball rolling. I'll share it with them. Because I'll be meeting them this week because of a Navratri, and I'll share the information that you guys come on, wake up. Are you doing anything? So because of Simon's group, we get to know everything. Thank you.
That's really interesting, Sharda, because so another piece of communications that Alison's team put out, you can subscribe to a Get Set newsletter that goes out every sort of 6 weeks or so that has sort of the key things that are going on. So I wonder if Simon, if we can share a link to subscribe to that as well, that'd be really good.
Absolutely no problem. That's fine. I'm going to bring in Salma. Thank you, Sharda. Then I want to bring in Tim because I did cut him off, and there is an opportunity for him to now come back in. So, Salma, would you like to come in?
Okay, so for myself, like I used to follow like you guys on Instagram. I'm not much of a Facebook person, even though I do have it. But then I realized with the Instagram sometimes, because it's not in date order and stuff, sometimes you can miss like posts. So what I've done is I've signed up to your mailing, your email, so I get regular emails. That's how I find out about events and like volunteer opportunities and stuff like that. What I would advise you to do is get a TikTok, people. Get a TikTok account, because TikTok is current. Because when I initially got TikTok, like I created like a short video on TikTok about the Birmingham Games, and I was going to tag you guys in, and then I realized you guys are not on there. But I think that's a platform that you guys should consider being on.
I think that both Rachel or Alison are itching to tell you that they have one.
There is one. There you go. The link's been put in the chat, Salma. So Alison, there has been one set up called Gold Bee Birmingham. So please do take a look.
Okay, no, definitely.
But again, I think it's one of those things, isn't it, Rachel? That it's we can put it out there. It's reinforcing and getting it out there. And I agree. I'm not the TikTok generation at all, but even I know that if you don't have TikTok, people just it kind of passes by. For those that don't, Tim, would you like to come in now, Tim? Apologies for cutting you off.
Thanks, It was just to go back to a couple of just our group earlier was again, and all the other groups, all the points are greatly appreciated and valued, and we can all move forward and put a lot of everything interaction over time. I mean, a couple of things that I kind of thought probably from a more strategic political point of view, only in so much in that placing Birmingham's image centre forward is that we revisit and bring back the Super Prix and the car show, both of which certainly the car show was taken back to London because it was doing too well in Birmingham. And I think, like Lawrence, being a proud Brummie, I'd like to see both of those come back to Birmingham as part of our ongoing world advertisement of what we have to offer, not just culturally, but also industrially as well.
Yeah, brilliant, Tim. Yeah, lots of thumbs went up when you said that. Clearly, you started a movement today, so that's brilliant. So I don't know if Alison wants to come in at all with anything, because I know you're saying it was yourself and Alison, Rachel, and I won't spotlight you, just have to speak, and there you are. There you go.
Surprise. Yeah, I think it's really interesting to hear sort of everyone's thoughts and how they want to be communicated to, because that is that's very much something that we've always got in the back of our minds. So, for example, and apologies, I can't remember who said this just a few minutes ago, but advertising in the likes of the Birmingham Evening Mail or doing some press or TV advertising. We do radio advertising at the moment, but we are very specific about what we're communicating through radio. But both those sort of further channels, that's something that we can really look into, because you're right, we aren't doing any of that what I would call more traditional style of media. So hopefully, based from this conversation, we can really get into every area of communication that we can, rather than just focusing on sort of newsletters or digital communications. So yeah, I think just that sort of past 5 minutes has been extremely valuable from a communications point of view. And obviously now we are hopefully coming out of COVID and people are becoming more comfortable actually going out to events. we will hopefully get on to do a roadshow and actually drop into community centres. We'll maybe hold networking events where you guys can come in and actually, you know, even things like this we can do in the physical room together. We can bring Perry along, and yeah, it's now really trying to connect into every community that we've got in Birmingham, and we've got an awful lot. So yeah, just that 5 minutes of feedback was extremely useful. So thank you very much for that.
No, brilliant, thank you. And just to let you know, you've got an extra follow now on.
I know, we're now on.
Salma has signed up. She's got it. It's okay. And we need to get Stephen into I think into TikTok as well now. I know he does his Facebook, but my determined
help, you know what? Just give me a call.
So yeah, so we've got quite a long from Lucy. I don't know if you want to actually come in and just make some of your points, Lucy. You've written it really well there, and I don't want to do any of you disjustice to what you may have written there. So Lucy, did you want to come in, or are you just happy with it being written? Okay, I'm just going to read it out for everybody then. So Lucy, sorry that she, I thought she was coming on then. Sorry I missed so much of this. The comments I wanted to add were the importance that this ongoing programme is linked with other regeneration programmes across the city, and that the legacy benefits are felt across the city, not just the city centre or Perry Bar. Will ward forums help engage local communities? That's a really good question. Has engagement started with schools, trusts across the city? We have a school notice board which goes out bi-weekly to schools, so can easily publish information to share. Thank you for that, Lucy. That's really helpful. So I don't know, obviously we'll pick up any questions and everything outside of this, but I don't know if yourself, Alison, or Rachel want to come back on either of that. Alison, you're still not on mute, so maybe you.
Yeah, I actually would say, especially on Lucy's second point about the sort of schools notice board and how we can engage with that. I think if Lucy, if you and I connect sort of offline, that's definitely a channel where we can get involved. There's Rachel and Kat's email there, so if you want, sort of go via those two, and they can put you in contact with myself. But especially the schools, that they're a community that we really want to get involved in, and you know, knowing that you've already got a platform that you send out is absolutely fantastic. And then in terms of the ward forums, yeah, we speak to the ward councillors on a weekly basis, if not daily, some of them depending on the ward. But we're more than happy to sort of come down to the ward community events themselves and have open discussions with the community, and really sort of strengthen that relationship between the council and the community, not just on the games but on other subjects as well.
Thank you. I know Amanda's got her hand up, but just before I bring in Amanda, did you just want to say anything about City Forward or Forward City? I can never remember the right way round, and kind of getting citizens on that ongoing
I'll pick up that point, Simon. So
Amanda, I'll bring you in after this bit, if that's all right. Thank you.
So subject to Amanda's comments, but just wrapping up this element, the purpose of today, as Kat said, is we're going to take everything that you've all said, and we're going to build this into what Kat and the team are writing, which is the City Council's legacy plan from the Games. And an element of that, at the front of this document, we're going to create a forward or an introduction piece from yourselves, essentially. So this conversation and the thoughts and feedback you've had, plus other sort of data and surveys and snippets we've had from people in the communities, will feed into what we'll call a citizen forward at the start of the legacy plan, as we really want it to be sort of for the community, about the community. So that's how your inputs will feed into the plan from today. And then going forward, there'll be lots of opportunities and things we'd like to test and try with you, like we have with the legacy plan. So we'd love to, you know, if you're interested and happy to continue to be involved, to work with Simon and his team to have more of these types of discussions at points throughout the year. So that's how we'll continue to be involved, and these ideas will develop as well. So there may be more forums and things.
Brilliant, thank you. Amanda, you put your hand down, which suggests that was.
Yeah,
go on.
sorry, no, it's just that I think you just answered that.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And you know, really evaluating and continuing to measure, you know, what difference it's made. Really, I think, you know, you have a plan for that, so that's why I put my hand down. Really, thank you.
Just on that, Amanda, though, just that evaluation point, because we said we'd pick it up from before. Conscious of time, but Kat, did you want to just say a few words about evaluation of what we're doing?
Yeah, of course. So we will obviously be evaluating the impact that the games had on the city. So there's a piece that's going off, and you know, do you remember when I spoke earlier about the fact that there was a cross partner plan? So as part of that, there's a whole series of kind of KPIs, metrics, etc., that are being developed that are going to capture things that will demonstrate things like, you know, return on investment, you know, positive impact, visitor numbers, community number of community events, sort of activations, but also how people are feeling about the game. So it's not just going to be a load of statistics and numbers. We want to have some qualitative information as well. So particularly within Birmingham, and if you're involved in any projects that have come out of the Celebrating Communities Award funding, we'll have a special kind of app that will allow you to sort of input your sort of thoughts, feelings, data, anything you want to share with us around the projects that you've been involved in. So if you'd like, there will be, in answer to Stephen's question in the chat, there will be a series of KPIs that we measure the evaluation plan for the whole games right across the region. The first version of that is going to be published in November, I think, so that will be available, you know, to the public, and you can go and have a look. As part of the projects that we're developing specific to Birmingham, we're working on kind of the KPIs and metrics that sort of sit below that layer, if that makes sense. So we will also be recording impact and recording very much both qualitative and kind of quantitative results and data, which we will publish in our plans too. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you, Kat. I want to bring in Jennifer Walters now, who's not spoken yet today. So I just wanted to bring her in over and above you, Sharda, then I'll bring you in afterwards, if that's okay. Jennifer.
Oh, hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, excellent. Just changing it slightly, I just wondered, with regards to considering what's going on, the volunteers getting together, you know, working at all the events and the venues, will it be required and a requirement that they be vaccinated or?
Interesting. I'll leave that to you guys to answer.
Yeah. Well, is Joe still on the line?
I am, yeah. Hello. I'm not aware of any requirement that volunteers have to be vaccinated. We're taking an integrated approach to the volunteer programme with the organising committee and lots of other delivery partners, and there's a wide range of volunteer roles. So some will be more sort of public facing than others, but nothing within the application process requires that. But I think we would sort of go with the general public health advice of encouraging everyone who's able to get vaccinated.
Brilliant. Thank you. So, Sharda, just very quickly, if you can bring in, because I'm just aware that we're up to time now. So you've got the last words, all 10 of them.
Yes. Yeah, I was just wondering, or if you can give us a small kind of a summary of your requirement, and I can send it to all my WhatsApp group. And I forgot something I wanted to address. I completely forgot. Sorry, Simon.
It's okay, Sharda. So what we will do.
I remember, you know, if you guys want to promote your work, include into NNS training group. There are lots of organizations all over the city are sitting in that group, but not a single day we have discussed about Commonwealth Games. We are answer the phone. We are meeting soon. I don't know when we are meeting, so I'll address this Commonwealth Games to them. because nobody has talked about Commonwealth Games up to now. And other thing for you is to, the Aging Better in Birmingham is coming to an end. So we are working on legacy. So I would suggest to you guys start working on legacy because of COVID-19, photographs, data protection is a huge, and we are finding it hard to do the legacy. So I would suggest this. Thank you, Simon. Thank you.
No, thank you, Sharda. It's really good. So a lot of the things so people have put quite a lot of pieces in the chat. What I will say is that we will download all the questions and you will get an answer. So if you've asked something today or you've requested information, you will get it. And I just want to reiterate, I'm going to leave Kat and Rachel's contacts up for a little bit longer. Again, we will send them out. But just reiterate, this is the beginning of a conversation, and it's really great that the guys have put this time and effort in. So I really want to thank them a lot, because it's difficult to try and put on something like the Commonwealth Games and actually to come and listen to the thoughts of people that it's going to affect and hopefully infuse. It's really important. So thank you. And it's nice. I didn't realise Joe was on the call. Hello, Joe, and it's nice to see you again. So I'm just going to wrap it up now. And thank you all. Thank you all for being part of this today. I think it's a really great and really, really important discussion we've had. I've got our team's contact details at the bottom there to get involved at birmingham.gov.uk. So if you've got further questions around issues that have been raised today, so we had some people talking about homelessness, etc., email the team. We can put you in touch with people, tell you what the projects are going on, but more importantly, we will help support Kat, Rachel and the team to engage with you on an ongoing process. So again, massive thank you to my co-chair Amanda for letting people in and out, etc. That did save me a lot of fiddling about with different screens. So I hope you enjoyed today. Thank you all very much, and I will end the meeting. So thank you all very much. Bye bye.